Greetings from GNU Linux Users Group NIT Durgapur. Welcome to the third video of our cryptography series. If you haven't yet watched the previous videos in the series, do watch it as it gives the introduction to important terms and principles and insight on modern cryptography. So let's see a quick overview of what we will be doing in this video. First, we'll be having a quick review on the asymmetric cryptography. Then we will go a little deep on RSA encryption algorithm, which has become some kind of tradition to include in every CTF. And then we will share some of our thoughts of how to go on from now. So as you already know from the previous video, asymmetric cryptography is a kind of modern cryptography in which there are two keys, a public key for encryption and a private key for decryption. This scheme relies on mathematics and is very effective on insecure channels because you don't have to worry about how you are going to share the keys, which is a limitation in symmetric cryptography. And as you will see, it involves some pretty long math, which is often regarded as resource and time consuming even by a computer when used repeatedly. Now let's have a deep dive in RSA. RSA stands for Reverse Semi's Alderman, the surnames of its three creators, and it goes unsaid that RSA is a great example of asymmetric cryptography. Before seeing the underhood workings, let me quickly describe some of the general terms used while describing RSA. So, P and Q are two randomly generated large primes which should have a significant difference. Next, N, the modulus which is the product of P and Q. Then we have E, which is the public key exponent, and it should be chosen such that it is coprime to phi. Phi is the torsion function of n. Don't worry, you will soon understand what that is. Then D is the private key exponent, which is the modulo inverse of E over the base phi. At last, we have M and C, which are the integer forms of plain text and ciphertext, respectively. And also, we define public key as the pair of N and E and the private key as D. So, moving on to the key generation part, we start by generating two primes P and Q. Both the primes must be chosen randomly and must have the same bit length. There should be a significant difference between primes, otherwise it will be vulnerable to attacks, specifically format factorization. We then compute n, which is the product of p and q, and then calculate the torsion function represented by lambda or phi. Lambda of n is the LCM of lambdas of p and q, and since p and q are primes, lambda of p is nothing but p minus 1, so our phi or lambda of n is the LCM of p minus 1 and q minus 1. We then choose an integer e such that it is coprime with phi and is in the range of 1 to 5. Generally, e is taken as 65537, which happens to be 2 to the power of 16 plus 1. Now we determine d as the modular multiplicative inverse. Don't worry if you don't understand any mathematical concept. We will be providing the links for the necessary resources in the description below. And thus, we have generated both keys, public key the pair of n and d and the private key d. Now, for encryption decryption part, it is pretty simple. We convert our message, which by the way can be anything, to integer form m. We then compute c such that m to the power of e and c are congruent modulo of n. We now have the ciphertext c, and to decrypt we just find a number such that it is a congruent modulo of n with c, and then we recover the message from m. Now, the security of RSA relies on something called the factoring problem. That is the act of splitting an integer into a set of smaller integers or factors, which when multiplied together form the original integer. Multiplying two prime integers together is easy, but as far as we know, factoring the product of two prime numbers is much more difficult. That's pretty much it. Now, to give you a summarized picture, let's have a quick walkthrough in layman's terms. Suppose that Alice wants to send some sensitive information to Bob and they decide to use RSA. First, Bob creates a pair of public and private keys and transmits the public key to Alice via a reliable but not necessarily secure route. Alice then encrypts the message with the public key and sends the encrypted message to Bob. Now, Bob, on the other end, with his private key, can decrypt it to get the message. Notice that only the public key is revealed to the outside world, whereas the private key never even goes to other party of the conversation. Which means even though Eve somehow gets a hold of the public key, it's pretty useless because she does not have the required private key to decrypt. Moving on, let's quickly have a walkthrough of RSA in Python by solving a simple challenge. Before solving the challenge, we need to install a package called PyCryptodome, which is a great util package especially for cryptography in Syria. Now we have a char.txt file from a simple CTF challenge in which we are given with N, E, Q and C. So first we create our script file. Let's start by wildcard importing all the functions from crypto.util.number. Then we just copy paste the given data from char.txt. Now since n is equal to p into q, we can find the value of p by integer dividing n with q. Then we have our Gaussian function phi, which is equal to the product of p minus 1 and q minus 1. We then have d, the private key exponent. We calculate it by the multiplicative modulo inverse of e over the base phi. And now we decrypt the ciphertext C with the private key D we just calculated. So we get M and then we just convert this M from integer form to plaintext by using this function longs to bytes. And now let's run the script and voila, we have our flag. Moving on, these are some of the popular attacks on RSA. When n is too small, about 512 bits or smaller, you can you can just factor it and you can easily find the tools for it. When d is too small, you can exploit it using the Wiener's attack. And when e is small, or when partial key is known, you have Coppersmith's attack. And when there are multiple moduli, batch GCD. Or when prime generation is faulty or something else, you can just Google it. Okay, so you have hopefully learned basic principles and terms, some of the classical ciphers, learned about the different kinds of modern cryptography, and then the RSA crypto system, right? So, what's next? This is just a tip of the iceberg. Well, you can always practice some fun and challenging crypto tasks on CryptoHack or CryptoPulse, which are some great platforms to learn cryptography. And so, with this, we have reached an end. But stay tuned and do not forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed the video or learned anything, leave a like and shoot your doubts in the comment section below. Until then, may the source be with you.
Back from the dead.